Okay, so that's where we are. So I'll go back to here, and we said we can start at Google, and usually you just type your topic here, and this is kind of like an idea. So you have the portfolio management, and this gives you like a bird's eye view of what is portfolio from everyday perspective. But you're interested in finding out about the research that has been done in portfolio management. So what you want to do is you want to go to Google Scholar, okay? And when you're at the Google search, you just type Scholar. It brings you these options, and you just click on Google Scholar, and then you can come in here and type portfolio management. So once you do that, and you have now anything that's popping up here is related to research that has been done in portfolio management. Are we together?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes.
So you can see, like for instance, the advantage of Google Scholar is it gives you information based on the articles, and there's even the time span. So if you want to see like the latest that has been written on portfolio management, you just click since 2020, and then it shows you these articles here. And some of them, if you see HTML, it means if you click on it, it's going to appear as HTML. And right here, it shows you if this article is actually available through the NCCU library. Now, because I'm on campus today, when I'm doing this search, it's going to be showing me the articles that I can actually access when I'm at school. If you are out there, it's going to be showing you some that might be in PDF, and you might be able to access them. If you log on to the school website, you might be able to access some of this. So if you look like, for instance, this is talking about reconciling alignment, efficiency, and agility in IT project portfolio management, recommendations based on laboratory case study. So actually, the type of research that you guys mentioned is close to what we call a case study, because what you're trying to do is you're looking at specific industries and looking at how they do things. Go together?
Yeah.
So that's an example of a case study. So if you have 3 interviews that you're going to be conducting, you can actually make that a case study. And basically what you do is you'll of course have to come up with like a set of questions that you're going to ask, because you want to make sure that at the end of your 3 research of your 3 interviews, then you can aggregate your results, and you can say in this industry this is what they think of portfolio management, this is how they manage it, this is the type of project they do, and on like that, so that you can kind of like come up with conclusion that says, because you at the moment, I'm assuming that you don't know how they do these things, and then once you finish your interview, you can you can get conclusion that says they actually do the same, all of them the same way, or they do them a little bit different.
Mhm.
Okay, so these are some of the articles, and you can look at like, so tell me, what exactly do you want to do with the portfolio management?
So well, since we changed it last night, we were trying to run it by you, I guess, to see what the best way to go about it was, and you kind of have like explained everything, kind of how we intended, I guess, to go about the project. And so I guess now from here is where we can kind of figure out what all we want to do with portfolio management, and I guess how we want to attack it. Because yesterday we just kind of had I guess like a thought that, the um, because the second option, I think it would be best to kind of do a comparison there, like you said. So I don't think we as a group know kind of yet what exactly we want to do, but we have some sort of idea.
Okay, and you see what happened is I typed project portfolio management, and then I put a space, and Google by default gives me all these different suggestions,
Yes,
right? So we can
that's
see
helpful.
from now, you guys are, from what you mentioned before, and you can do something different, is you mentioned that you want to compare portfolio management in the different industries, correct?
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah, so what from this, what do you think looks much closer to what you might be interested in doing? Or what do you think is your idea from the options that we have?
Probably strategies or process.
Strategies.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. And now you can go up and click on the strategies, and then it gives you some of the research studies that have been done in that. Okay?
Okay.
So they say project management under multiple regimes, strategies that outperform the market. You have dual portfolio management strategies for online subscription, synthetic and real assets, artificial intelligence and ethics, advanced strategies. So you have all these different options. So let's just look at one by default. Let's just pick one. Look at the ones that you have here and pick one that you want us to look and see at least what they have talked about. And they might look a little bit more confusing now. And this is part of the research. When you look at this, they are polished. But the way this research, for them to get to this level, they have spent a lot of time. I have written a few research papers, and sometimes it takes almost a year. I have actually two papers that I started writing. I think it was 2019, and they have not yet been published. We just keep going back. So what you do is you write a paper, you send it out to the editors, and they look at it and they give you suggestions. You come back, you write it again, and keep going through that iteration. That is what we mean by peer review. So anytime that you see something on Google Scholar, for the most part, most of them have gone through a lot of iterations and they look polished. It's like when you go to a store and you're looking at a cake and you see that cake is so beautiful, it has all the beautiful decorations, but before they get there, they have to go through different iterations. It's going to look different like from the one you might have to make at home. So anything that you want to look at from here?
Um,
And what
What you
usually you go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say the one about the multiple regimes kind of seemed interesting.
Multiple something. So
Yeah,
what is
the
the title?
multiple.
How
Say
does
that
it
again.
read? What is the title?
Portfolio management under multiple regimes, strategies that outperform
Okay,
the market.
so we'll try to see whether we can get that. And does it open on your screen like that? Yeah, so it opens like that.
Yes.
So basically, what you want to do is when you, where was it? Yeah, right here. So when you click on it, usually you get the abstract, and the abstract usually will give you some information about whether this is what you're interested in. Now, if you have
Okay.
never written a research paper and you hear about the abstract, that's going to kind of like throw you off. But
Okay.
abstract, you can think of abstract like the summary before the news. Sometimes they'll come and say, this is 11 o'clock news, and then they give you like topics of what they're going to be talking, and they briefly talk about them. And then after maybe 2 minutes, they come back and now they dig deeper. So that's what the abstract is. And you can see this is a really long abstract. Usually most of the abstracts are less than 200 words. So this is a real long. But basically what they're talking about regime switching models. So this might actually throw you off because of the things that they're talking about. But
Okay.
that's what you do. So you look at the abstract, and when you read the abstract, if it makes sense, then you might want to go back and read the whole paper. Okay? They're saying for this we can access it from the library if we are interested in that. So that's one of the way that you can look at a research paper. Now let's speak like this one here. You can also read like here best portfolio strategies for synthetic and real estate. Let's see what these ones they're talking about. So this is a different journal, and you can see the structure is also different. But basically, what they are talking about here is they have the highlights. Different strategies should be utilized for different market conditions. And then they have the abstract. Managing investment portfolio is an old and well-known problem in multiple fields. So they're already talking about field because you guys talked about different fields, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So they have financial, mathematics, engineering, and things like that. So this is another way that you can actually get some ideas if your paper is based on what you're trying to be working on. Okay, so if you see the abstract makes sense to what you're doing, then you can dig a little bit, and you don't have to do a lot of reading on this because at this level, I don't expect you to be writing like a more technical research paper. Okay, that's one of the strategies that you can use to help you in coming up with a topic. Is it making sense?
Yes.
Now, when you pick a paper, like for instance, let's say you're going to be using this paper as part of your research, because if you read this paper and you get some points, you have to use it as part of your reference.
Right.
So the referencing styles, anytime that you see these quotes here, if you click on them, it gives you the different referencing style that you can use for citing your paper. Okay, so I think you're supposed to be using the APA for paper.
Yes.
Yeah, so some disciplines require you to use the MLA, others require you to use Chicago, others Harvard, others Vancouver. But MLA and APA, these are the most common ones. Okay, the American Psychological Position, these are the two most common ones. And all what you do is, if you want to use this paper, you just highlight, and then you right click, and then you take it to your document and you paste. So you don't have to go about trying to figure out how to do that. So the way you do that is, anytime that you see these quotation marks, you click on them and you have this pop-up window. And this pop-up window is showing you that if you want to use the MLA, just highlight. If you want to use Chicago, click, and then you copy, and then you take it to your document. So that's how you go about working with that. Now let's see if there is something that has been done in industries, portfolio management in different industries. Industries, yeah, they have something about that. Okay. They have like different things. So it might require you some time to set some time and kind of like read about these things so that you can at least get an idea. And this is what you probably will be doing if you ever decide to do a doctoral program. Okay, and even yeah, so another maybe some other classes at higher level that you might be taking that require you to write more research papers. So you have to spend a little bit more time trying to do research. To achieve effectiveness in project management, in portfolio management, to a successful business model management with that, agile project portfolio management, new areas for project management, practices of the transformation project, the tail dependence of the carbon markets, the implications. So what are they talking about here? Just click on that and see what they talk about. So emission trading schemes, the most popular market-based instrument, is widely used to solve carbon emission problem. Blah 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 blah. So a little bit of information on carbon emission and things like that. So any questions on what we're trying to do? Are we making sense?
Oh, it definitely makes sense. I mean, this has been very helpful because I didn't even know Google Scholar was a thing.
Yeah, so Google will help you. And who was the other colleague here?
Brenda.
Yeah, Brandon. Are we making sense?
Yep, yep.
Okay, so hopefully this will give you a little bit more ideas, portfolio management in different industries, multiple regimes, strategies, all the way like that. Okay, portfolio management, research. So this will kind of give you like information on the research that has been done on portfolio management. And you can even do something like portfolio management literature review. Yep. So, and we are doing only 2020, let's say since 2019. And we do that. So this will give you like literature review that has been done on portfolio project management. And if you want to be more specific, you can actually put it in quotation mark or quotation marks like that. And that will only give you things that are based related to portfolio project management. Does it give me French and all that? That's interesting. I'm interested in portfolio management. Portfolio management literature review. Anytime you see papers that are published by Science Direct under the Elsevier is actually a good journal. This is one of the top journals in project management, actually, International Journal of Project Management. Okay, and usually they show you all the articles by the date and all that. You have the abstracts. So if you want to see like the article, so you read the abstract. If you want to see more articles from this journal, you can just click on the volume, and then it shows you down here, and you can see all the different articles. So this is one of the top, it's actually the top journal for project management. I have a paper that is under review there, and we hope it goes through. So that is where we are. Okay. So, any more questions?
No, I think that it was pretty straightforward. And I think we can head in the right direction.
Okay, so the key thing you can do is keep in touch, and when you write something, don't wait until you kind of like write the whole paper. I'm available to review your paper. If you send it and give me maybe a day or two, I can briefly give you some more feedback so that you can come out something that is more substantive. Because, like I said, writing good research paper requires a lot of back and forth, and it takes time.
I do have a quick question.
Sure.
What kinds of things, I guess, what do you want for the rough draft?
So the first thing is you can, like, you have the topic, and then kind of like an abstract. So an abstract actually tells me what is your focus, like what is it that you're going to be writing on in your paper. So let me see whether I can pull up a paper that I submitted here. And yeah, so you have the abstract, and from the abstract you should tell me this is what we're planning to do, and you don't have to be more specific, but it's kind of like these are the things that we hope to accomplish in this paper. So like what you said, if you're going to be interviewing the people, what do you expect to get from that? Anytime that you're going to be interviewing people, you need to have a set of questions, and those questions are going to be your research. So like if you remember the interview that we did with the project manager at the beginning of the semester, so you have a set of questions that you come up with, and those questions can be based on your research. So you might have to go on the internet and do a little bit of research to kind of like define what is portfolio project management, and if there are going to be any differences, what can lead to those differences. Make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's where we are. And let me see. If you give me 1 minute, I was trying to see whether I can get a research paper that I've written recently. Okay, open this up. Oh, the search button is on this side. Okay, improving project management curriculum. So I see this one here. Okay, so I'm gonna share this with you and walk you through in a minute. Okay, and share. This is what? This is a window. Improving. Okay, so this is an example of a paper that I wrote. And can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so I have this paper with a colleague of mine, and this is a very long paper actually by many standards. But we have the topic, and then we have the abstract. And basically the abstract this is a very short abstract because the journal that we submitted to say they want an abstract of less than 150 words. But what you're saying is project management continues to permeate many facets of the organization as industry leaders realize that it takes competent project managers to complete quality projects in a timely and cost-efficient manner. So the rising PM popularity is creating significant talent deficits, leading to more challenged or failing projects. We have actually talked about that. So to lower the PM talent deficit and mitigate the higher project failure rates, academic institutions are inculcating of competencies to their future project managers. So basically what you're saying is you're trying to train new people to assume the role of the project managers. So in this study, we gather data from 3 syllabi and compare the competencies articulated in the course learning outcomes to those competencies prescribed in the PMI talent triangle. So we have mentioned about the PMI. Okay, so they have something that's a concept that's called the PMI talent triangle that says that for you to be an effective project manager, you need to have this type of skills. So basically what we are doing in this paper is we collected some syllabus and then went through the syllabus and trying to find out whether the syllabus articulate what should project managers know. So before this paper got where it is, we did a lot of iterations. So you can see like basically here we have the abstract, and then we have like the keywords, you have the introduction. So you talk a little bit about what is project management and what is knowledge. So I'll expect to have that in you. So you're going to have like a small introduction that talks about what is project portfolio management. Okay, and then you can see how we are using some of the research that has been talked about. Now, if you remember in the course website, I think on Blackboard, there is a document that I talked about the chaos. I think it was week 1 or week 2. Remember that?
Yes, I think, yeah, I believe.
Yeah, so if you go back, you'll find it there. So you can see you're using that report over here. Okay, so this is how you proceed. You have page 1, page 2, still talking. Now I like to write a lot, and so this might be a little bit long for you guys. And then we have the research rationale. So why is it you think what you're talking about is important? You say you want to talk about project portfolio management. Why do you think that is important? Okay, so we give. So that's like kind of like justifying why your research is important, and we give that section over here. Okay, and then we go and say what is the value of this research. So we are saying this current study is motivated by the call for research studies that provide a holistic picture of the desired PM competencies, and also to properly explore and define the education needs in PM education. So what we are saying is we have a shortage of people who are qualified to be project managers, and we are hoping that this study will help to show which are the most important skills that project managers should have. Okay, to talk about the contribution, and then you come back and here you have like a little bit of background. You don't have to have all this in your paper, okay? But at least this will kind of hopefully give you some ideas about what you do. So we keep going on, and this is long. I don't expect you to have something like this, okay? And then we have some comparisons. So you keep writing. You got EMI framework. Okay, so project managers should have technical skills, they should have leadership skills, and they should have some business acumen skills. So these are the specific ones. Okay, like you should be familiar with agile practices. We have talked about that. You should be able to do something called life cycle management. Remember to talk about the 5 process groups? That is where it is. Leadership. Remember I've been talking about using the what is that resource that we use for the discussion board? Give me the name. We have to make a video of the discussion board. Yeah,
The voice thread?
Say that again.
The voice thread?
Yes, very good. The voice thread. So
Is that what you're talking about?
Yep. So these are the concept that you need.
Hello?
Yes. Oh, yes, I can hear you. Are you there? So the voice thread is for helping you to be able to improve your communication skills. Okay. So your listening skills, personal skills, all the way like that. You also need to have some business acumen skills. You're taking this course in a business school. It's called project management. So you need to know how to come up, understand business models and structures. And we talked about the strategy of the business. That's where that comes from. You need to know how to do the comparative analysis. If you remember how when we were trying to determine which project a company should be doing, we went through that. Okay. You need to know about customer relationship. Okay. Have some knowledge on the industry. And I'm glad that you're doing a research that is looking at different industries and how they manage projects. So that's what we are talking about. And then we have a research. So for your case, the research is going to be interview. And then you go down, you have sample selection. How did you decide to come up with those people you're going to be interviewing? And then you collect the data. How did you collect the data? You did maybe Zoom, face-to-face, with a mask, hopefully, or you send them the question, and then you have the results. So down here you have the results, and then you have some discussion that says this is what we found, this is what we thought, and then you have some research that can help you with that. And then once you finish that, this is all results and discussion, you'll come down and have your references. So the references is down here. So you have your references, and you specify them. I don't expect you to have that many references, but remember, it's called research. Okay? The word search preceded by the word re, which means that you're adding on what others have done. And that is where you have the reference, because you're saying, this is what I'm doing, but other people have done this. Also, this is what I'm doing. This is what I found. Other people found this. This is what I'm doing. Other people found this, which is different from what I found. So all those concepts have to be integrated in your references. So that is how you end up with that. This is a very long paper. I don't expect you to come up with such a long paper if you do well and good. Are we together?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so that is that. You are here. Okay, so that is that. So we are in week 7. And have you gone through the chapter concept? Like the course material for chapter 7? Yes, chapter what? I think chapter 6. Project time management.
Yes, I've looked over it and I plan to read it in full today. Yes. I did have a chance to look over it and look at
And what you might actually find, and as you move forward, now we are actually getting into the meat of the project management, because you're going to be looking at time management, we're going to look at cost management, and then you're going to be looking at quality management. You might actually find that maybe you need to change your research topic. Now, I don't want to spoil or what is that, poison your brains. If you want to do that, that's fine too. Because what you'll find is that, like, what you're looking at for your project management is not something that is very well defined. It might be a little bit difficult. You might have a little bit struggles here and there before you can come up to a conclusive research topic. But there's a lot of research that has been done on time management, on cost management, on quality management. So following the same concept, you might come up with that conclusion. Hopefully not, but if it happens, that's part of life. When people are coming up with research topic, especially if now you guys don't have to do a thesis for your masters, do you?
I don't think so.
Okay, so some schools actually require you to do a thesis for your masters, and before you can come up with the research topic, it takes time. Okay, so because you think of something and then you find, I don't want to do that. So it's normal for you to do that. Okay, but just like the same way when you're working on a project management, you have to make sure that you don't fall into what's called the paralysis analysis. So paralysis analysis is where you keep deciding on a topic, and then you change, you come up with another one, then you change until you end up wasting all your time through that process. So a few key things about this. These videos, I think they are very important. If you can watch these videos before you read the book, I think they'll help you a lot. So we'll be talking about time, because what you're trying to do is determine the time, the duration of the project. Last week, we talked about the work breakdown structure. That's how you look at your project and then you break it down into small manageable pieces. And now what you do is at each of those work breakdown structure, what you call the work unit, you assign a time and you say this project unit is going to take 2 hours, or it's going to take 5 days, or it's going to take a month to finish. And then what you do is you put down all those projects together, work unit together, and you determine the project duration. Okay, so the dependencies is that concept that shows you how those different activities are related. If you are making a 3-course meal, you have different ingredients, and then you know how those ingredients have to be put on the pot, or how you have to mix them up. That's what you're calling dependencies. Okay, so we also have what you're calling the precedence diagramming method, and basically this is a technique that helps you to be able to lay down your project from the beginning to the end, and it shows you the different relationship of your project, and that's how you determine the duration of your project. So these are some concepts. If you ever do the CAPM or the PMP exam, they will be there in the exam. So learn about that, watch that. And then there's also the early start and the early finish. So this is a concept that, and basically what they say is for every activity, you should be able to determine what is the earliest time that you can start that activity and what is the earliest time that you can finish that activity. Okay, so that's all depending on the relationship that you have. So usually we have what's called the forward pass, and basically what you do is you start from the beginning of the project and you go all the way to the end based on how much time you have assigned to each activity, and you're able to say this is the earliest that I can finish this project, and then you also say this is the latest that I can finish this project. So when you go through that concept, it helps you to be able to come up with a clearer picture of how long your project is going to take. So these two videos are also very, very important. And you do what's called the forward pass and backward pass. That helps you to explain that. And the total float. So anytime that you have an activity, when you do the forward pass and the backward pass, you're able to generate a chart that shows you how much time you can spend on an activity or how much time each activity has, which will allow you to be able to suspend working on that activity without impacting the duration of that project. So in case you want to move resources around in your project, you'll be able to see which activities you can be able to move resources to or from. And that goes with the crashing. So crashing is when you're trying to reduce the time of the project. Okay. So what happens is your customer comes and says, we got to finish this project. If you had projected that this project was going to take maybe 6 months, and the client says, we got to finish this in 5 months, or something happens in the industry, like your competitor comes up with a project, or you get some information that your competitor is going to be coming up with a similar or something or a competitive product in the industry within the next 3 months, then what you can do is you can go back to the drawing board and look for a strategy in which you're going to try and beat the competition. So the way you do that is by following what is called crashing. So this concept here talks about how you can crash. And basically what you're saying is you're trying to compress the duration of the project. And one way that you can do that is you add more resources. So if it's programming, is a computer program that you wanted to come up with, what you can do is you can hire more people to come in and do work. Okay, so that's adding the resources. Or you can use the same people that you have, make them work longer time, so longer duration. So you have more overtime. So what you find is that you have to come up with a balance, because when you do the crashing, you're going to impact the cost of the project. Okay, so you need to make sure that you have a good balance of how much money you're going to use in terms of crashing, and make sure that you don't overblow the budget. Okay, so that is that. And the critical chain, also we talked about that. A few of the theories that you should know, something like the buffer, and it's nothing else. We know of a buffer zone. So it's the same concept that we use here. Murphy's law states that if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. So this is a concept that is used in project management. And usually it says that if you're not a good project manager and you keep dilly-dallying, that's going to come back to bite you. Okay? Then we have the Parkinson's law, which says that work expands to fill the time allotted. So what you're saying is when you're determining the duration of the project, you have to be very, very careful. Because if you give somebody a project to work on and you tell them, I need you to work on that on 2 weeks, and you give them more time, they're actually going to find time to fill that space. So even if somebody finished the project, what they'll do is they'll just dilly-dally instead of letting you know that they have finished working on this. So know about that. Okay, so that is about videos. Any questions?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, and so maybe my advice will be watch the videos and then read the book. Okay, because sometimes the book might have more information, more filler material, and all that, but the videos, I think they are more straightforward. Okay, so in terms of the discussion, we had said you can do the discussion on your own, or you can do the discussion as a group. But I think from next week we said we're going to be using VoiceThread for the discussion. Okay, and they're going to be individual. So note that. Brenda, are you still there?
Yes, and so we don't have a discussion due tonight, right?
For this week, I think we had a discussion that is going to be individual on software. Which week is this? Week 7. And we go to assess. Yeah, we have a discussion that talks, why is it difficult to use project management software well? Okay,
Okay.
Yeah, so you think of Microsoft Project as one of the software, or Microsoft Excel is another software that you can use. So the question is, why is it difficult for you to use it? So give me an idea. Why do you think it's so difficult to use this software as well?
And this is due tonight, correct?
No, the fast post is tonight, and then you have until.
Okay.
Okay. Probably maybe not having enough training or understanding in how to use it.
Very good. So you're right there on the money. Okay. So something like that. Okay. And then you respond to somebody else's comment, and that should be it.
Okay. And that's on the voice thread.
Now, this is just the normal one. We're going to do the normal discussion board. So from next week is when you're going to be doing the. Yeah,
Okay.
because I was hoping that the discussions are going to be individual group, but it's becoming very difficult to bring everybody together. So just do that. So do this as an individual. From next week is going to be individual, but they're going to be on voice thread. Now, a few people have asked about what is that? The professional participation events. So this is the link where you come to, and there's a lot of events going on. I think there was an event that some participated in, and you can do this. You don't have to be there physically. If you have an event is online and you have to register, that registration can serve as a sign that you actually did participate. But you need to fill the form and give me some information about what happened. So you need to do 2 of those. So that's found under the professional participation events. And the hands-on, I don't know how far you guys have gone with that. So there is this document that you can use here to do the hands-on. And basically when you do the hands-on, it's kind of like showing you how when you're working on a project, you go on entering the information and transitioning that and creating the Gantt chart, and you'll be able to see the relationship between the different projects and how you can maybe even reschedule, and crash and do all that. Because the concept you're actually learning about today in time management, they are explained much more clearer in the guide. So when you enter those activities and you schedule them, you'll be able to see the relationship. And now the research paper, I gave you some information here on the ideas about how to go about working on the research paper. So just know the draft is due by week 8, and I think that's next week, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the final paper is week 12. So that should be next week. Right here, and you'll have, so there's going to be a link here for you to submit the draft. Okay, any questions?
Nope.
Brenda, we good? Brenda, you there?
Yes, I'm good. Sorry, my internet keeps doing funky things, and I can't always unmute. So.
Okay, good. I had the same issue actually some week back with Spectrum. So I had to take back the router, and now it's a little bit much better. So I'm going to post this on Blackboard later on. If you have no questions, then that should be it.